Welcome to the deep dive. You know, if you've been following the sources we look at, the really big changes, they often happen just out of sight.
And today, we're looking way up, about 250 miles up, actually. Because according to the material we're diving into today, there's this one really revealing source called the quiet replacement, space robots and Earth jobs.
Yeah.
I want something else.
It really is. It's just a huge economic revolution is happening right now in orbit. So our mission today is to unpack those claims, look at the insights in this stuff.
Absolutely. And when we think about space infrastructure, the picture is usually astronauts, right? Humans in spacesuits.
Yeah, classic image.
But these sources, they paint a completely different picture. A new workforce, fully operational, but it's space-based. We're talking about a fundamental shift in how really high-value, large-scale manufacturing, even construction, gets done. And it's almost entirely automated.
It's quite a powerful image the source uses to set the scene. It starts with, they're already working above us. Just think about that for a second. Picture Earth from orbit, maybe moonlight hitting it, maybe sunrise. Down here, billions of us are asleep, totally unaware. And just up there, beyond the atmosphere, these giant robotic arms are assembling, say, multi-ton satellites.
Yeah.
Meticulously.
That visual really nails the core idea in the source, I think. While we're all focused down here on self-driving cars, factory robots on the ground.
Like the stuff we see?
Exactly. The most advanced sort of persistent automation is actually happening up there in the vacuum of space, doing jobs that, they used to need really expensive crewed missions for, or specialized factories back here on Earth.
So, okay, our deep dive mission here isn't just about the cool tech, right? We need to get how these machines work in zero-G, sure, but we really have to tackle that big economic question the material brings up.
Consequences.
Yeah. When machines get this good at working in space, what happens to human jobs back here on Earth?
That's the real tension, isn't it? It moves beyond just, wow, look at the engineering to, okay, what's the potential for global economic displacement here?
So let's trace how this tech evolved. Let's call this part the ascent of the orbital worker. The source makes it clear this wasn't like flicking a switch. It started small.
Oh, definitely. Initially, companies developed these relatively simple robotic arms, repair bots, basically.
Like fixing satellites.
Yeah, exactly. Swapping out batteries, maybe refueling, simple maintenance. But the tech hit an inflection point pretty quickly. The horse talks about the current generation as full-scale robotic workers. They can do much more complex stuff now.
Okay, so what specifically are these new capabilities? It's not just tightening bolts, is it?
No, far beyond that. What's really fascinating is the skill set they've adapted for vacuum. These machines can now do complex things like high-precision welding.
Which is actually better in a vacuum, right? No contamination.
Exactly. Zero chance of atmospheric contamination messing things up. Big advantage. But even more importantly, they're using orbital 3D printing.
So printing parts in space.
Yes, printing structural components right there, in situ, using these specialized metal powders. This basically turns low Earth orbit into a sophisticated factory that runs constantly.
Wow. So we're past simple assembly, we're into high-skill construction, fabrication, running 24/7 in what the source calls a quiet corner of our orbit. And that brings us right to why this is speeding up so fast, the huge efficiency advantage.
Yeah, it seems purely logistical, almost, but it's an advantage humans just can't compete with economically. Break down the core logistics here. Why robots? It's sort of twofold.
Yeah.
First, the obvious material fact. These orbital robots, they don't need rest, food, or oxygen.
Right.
The basics of keeping humans alive up there.
Exactly. That eliminates the absolutely massive cost and risk of launching humans, keeping them alive, protecting them. It's huge. Second, they just operate continuously. With humans, you need shifts. You need extensive training, redundant life support. Robots, they run on solar power, need minimal maintenance. Okay, and this is where it gets really interesting regarding the human factor fading. You mentioned continuous operation. That must change the role of human supervision, right? It can't be real-time control anymore. So why are the sources so sure that soon these workers won't even need human supervision?
That's a really important point, and the answer is basically physics. Latency.
The time delay.
Yeah, even at light speed, sending instructions from Earth up hundreds of miles, there's a delay. It's small, but when these systems are doing really fine-grained work, micro-welding, dodging tiny bits of debris, that delay makes constant, precise control from the ground, it's almost impossible.
So, okay, human engineers are still watching on screens down here, but the machine has to make its own calls because of that light speed lag?
Precisely. The machines themselves, they now make the real decisions in real time. They're not just following step-by-step commands from a person. They're executing complex goals, adjusting for things like thermal expansion, power dips, tiny navigation errors, all without waiting for a signal from Earth.
So the human becomes, what? An observer.
Yeah.
Setting the overall mission.
Pretty much. Observer, mission setter, but not the critical real-time operator anymore. And that shift, that passive observer role, that fundamentally changes the value of human input in the chain.
And that shift from active controller to passive observer, that's the setup for the economic shock the source talks about back here on Earth. If this orbital workforce is that much better, faster, cheaper, what happens to the industries that used to build this stuff down here? Well, the source draws a direct line. It says, every satellite they build means one less contract for humans. The shock isn't some kind of robot uprising, it's displacement. Just jobs disappearing.
Yeah, the slow erosion of those mid to high value manufacturing contracts.
Right.
We're not just talking basic assembly line jobs here. This is specialized materials, science, component fabrication, integration work, stuff done by highly skilled aerospace workers on the ground.
And the sources really stress that this shift has already started silently. Why silent? Why isn't this bigger news?
The silence is key. Because it's not like a giant factory suddenly closes and makes headlines overnight. It's the absence of future contracts.
Oh, okay.
Think about, say, a medium-sized company. They specialize in building the internal frames for communication satellites. If their potential client realizes it's cheaper and faster to have an autonomous system print and assemble that frame in orbit, well, the company on Earth just doesn't win the bid.
If they don't shut down immediately.
No, they just slowly wither. Lack of future work. The unemployment happens quietly. One worker here, one contract there.
The source uses that really stark contrast, doesn't it? Closed factories, unemployed workers down here. While these autonomous robots are busy working away right above them, it feels like a tragedy of pure efficiency.
It kind of is. The demand for human hands building these high-precision things in clean rooms on Earth, it's becoming obsolete. Because the demand is being met cheaper, faster, more effectively, literally over their heads.
Which leads us to the intelligence behind it all. The actual brain making this autonomy work. It's not just pre-programmed robots, it's learning systems. Let's dig into what the source calls the hidden AI directors.
Right. This is the real command layer. The reason this is a replacement. Behind every robot arm, every welder, there's a complex AI brain. Sometimes it's distributed across multiple systems, controlling the whole fleet. And this AI isn't just following a rigid script, like, connect part A to part B.
Okay, if it's not just following a script, what is it doing? How does it get so optimized?
The source implies these are pretty sophisticated algorithms, probably something like reinforcement learning. The AI is constantly taking in data thermal stress, material flow, power use, and it's optimizing its own strategy to get the job done.
Give me an example.
Okay, so maybe a human engineer programs a welding sequence that should take 4 hours. The AI director, though, it might analyze the real-time material properties, the radiation levels right then, and adjust the sequence on the fly. Maybe it finds a faster, more robust way to do it in 3 hours and 40 minutes.
So it's like a self-improving project manager, but in zero gravity, learning from every single task.
Exactly. It beats human capability, not just by working nonstop, but by optimizing strategically. When the source says the AI is optimizing its own strategy, it means the speed and efficiency of building stuff in orbit is just constantly increasing without more human input.
Wow. So the source's conclusion, it's pretty blunt. This isn't science fiction anymore. They state it clearly. The first robotic workforce in space is already clocking in. It's a pretty stunning thing to wrap your head around. A whole transformation built on machines making real-time, optimized, strategic decisions in zero-G. And that leads to this quiet but really profound economic shift back on Earth.
So the key takeaway seems to be efficiency in space translates almost immediately into, into certain skilled human jobs on Earth becoming less relevant. That's the core synthesis, yeah. It fundamentally changes the connection between human economic value and building large-scale complex things. We've basically automated the construction of our own technological future. And we did it 250 miles above our heads.
Okay, as we wrap up this deep dive, let's leave you, the listener, with that final provocative thought from the source material. It pushes us to look beyond just the immediate job losses and think about the bigger long-term picture.
Yeah, the source asks you to look up tonight. And just consider the scenario it describes. Imagine a future where spaceports aren't bustling with human crews getting ready for launch, but filled with robotic drones managing inventory, automated cargo shuttles docking by themselves, and the complex operations, managed by maybe a handful of engineers at small ground stations, mostly overseeing the digital systems, that fully automated industrial infrastructure.
Yeah.
It's already putting down roots. And that leads right to the source's final, really big question, one we all kind of have to wrestle with, I think, when the universe doesn't really need humans anymore to build its infrastructure.
Mhm.
Well, what will our purpose be then?